The wind, a presence so ever-constant and familiar, whispers across the land, weaving its way through the trees, over mountains, across oceans, and into the quiet corners of our lives. Its breath, invisible yet undeniably real, moves through the spaces we occupy, sweeping through our memories, our thoughts, and our existence. It carries with it not only the scent of the earth, but perhaps the voices of distant times. What if the wind, in its infinite journey, doesn't only carry the present moment, but also echoes from an ancient past, a past long forgotten by the human race, but one that still reverberates faintly in the very air we breathe? As we stand in the breeze, there is a quiet, almost imperceptible suggestion that the wind could be more than just air in motion. It could be a bridge to something ancient, a conduit for sounds and voices that stretch back in time. For 200 million years, life on Earth has evolved, flourished, and vanished, leaving behind stories written not in words but in the rocks, the fossils, and perhaps the very air that surrounds us. Could it be that some of those stories, once whispered by creatures long extinct or carried in the rustling of primeval forests, are still present in the wind? Consider how a sound travels, how it moves through the air, vibrating molecules in ways that leave impressions in the environment. If sound can leave its mark on the landscape, can it not also be carried through time, lingering long after the source has disappeared? Just as a song, sung once, can echo across a room, might the wind, too, be carrying with it ancient melodies, whispers of creatures and civilizations that no longer walk the earth, but whose voices might still, under the right conditions, rise from the depths of history? This thought, this delicate possibility, is where our journey begins. In a moment of quiet reflection, we are invited to listen more closely, not just to the wind as it sweeps past, but to the suggestion that it might carry with it something deeper, something that transcends the immediate. In the rustle of the trees and the sighs of the breeze, might we hear a faint trace of a voice from 200 million years ago, a voice carried by the wind, passing through time, waiting for someone to listen. The world is alive with sound, though most of it goes unnoticed. Beneath the hum of human activity, beneath the cries of birds and the rustling of leaves, there is an invisible symphony playing, a chorus of vibrations that touch every corner of our world. The wind, that ever-present force, is the conductor of this symphony, moving the unseen notes of sound across vast distances, shaping and reshaping the environment around it. Every gust, every whisper in the trees, every shifting breeze holds a hidden melody, a rhythm that pulses in time with the heartbeat of the earth itself. Sound, in its purest form, is nothing but vibration. It begins in one place, a source, and ripples outward through the air, traveling in waves, slowly fading as it moves further from its origin. The wind, then, is not simply air in motion. It is the carrier of these waves, the silent messenger of the world's endless conversations. When the wind blows, it stirs the air around us, creating a quiet hum of activity, a gentle stirring of life. But within this, there are traces of other things, fragments of a world that was, echoes of moments that have long since passed. Imagine for a moment that the wind is not just moving through the trees, but through the very fabric of time. What if each breeze that we feel today is, in some way, carrying a piece of the world that existed long before us? The wind could be likened to a great, invisible library, storing the sounds and vibrations of the past. The rustling of leaves, the movement of clouds, the rhythmic crash of distant waves. These are not merely sounds of the present, but the ghosts of the past, still carried in the breath of the earth. Each sound that we hear, each vibration that travels through the air, is part of a larger story, one that stretches backward far beyond the reach of our understanding. In a forest, the wind seems to hold the whispers of ancient trees, the creaking of ancient branches, and perhaps the faint rustle of creatures that no longer exist. In the desert, the wind might carry the secrets of civilizations that once flourished, only to be swallowed by time and sand. In the mountains, the wind could be tracing the paths of glaciers long melted, bringing with it the echoes of a time when the world was different, quieter, and more unknown. The air we breathe today may well be the same air that once moved through the forests of the dinosaurs or the plains where the first mammals roamed. But the question lingers, can we truly hear these ancient sounds? Can we, in the midst of our modern world, connect to the primal, timeless melodies that have been carried across millennia? The answer may lie not in what we hear, but in what we feel. An intuitive sense that the wind is more than just wind. It is a conduit, a thread connecting us to a distant past where the voices of creatures long extinct still hum faintly in the air, waiting to be heard by those who are willing to listen. And perhaps, in that quiet moment when we pause to breathe deeply and feel the wind on our skin, we might hear, if only for an instant, the faintest whispers of another time. 200 million years ago, the Earth was a vastly different place, a world that seems almost unrecognizable compared to the planet we know today. The skies were thick with the hum of ancient life, where the first giants of the Earth roamed, dinosaurs that would become the symbols of an era long past. The air was filled with the scent of untamed forests and the primal sounds of life unfolding in ways we can hardly imagine now. The landscape was ruled not by the towering structures of human civilization, but by the colossal shadows of creatures whose names echo through time like ancient songs. At this time, in the late Triassic period, the Earth was in the midst of incredible transformation. The supercontinent Pangaea, a massive landmass that once held nearly all the world's land together, was slowly breaking apart, setting the stage for the continents we know today. Vast deserts stretched across much of the land, but where there was water, lush environments flourished, teeming with early forms of life. The planet's atmosphere, rich with different gases than we breathe today, created a different kind of world, a world where life was just beginning to assert itself in new and often mysterious forms. But the wonders of the Earth 200 million years ago were not limited to giant dinosaurs or the earliest forests. The ground was also covered in strange, ancient plants, ferns, cycads, and the first true conifers, whose rustling in the breeze might have been as ancient as the earth itself. In the air, the first birds began to take flight, while early mammals, small and often nocturnal, crept through the shadows, preparing to one day rule the earth in their own way. The oceans, too, were full of life, but it was a life that was vastly different from the seas we know today, strange and alien, filled with creatures we can hardly imagine. For all the creatures and plants that thrived in this ancient world, most of them have long since disappeared. They have left behind only the faintest traces of their existence, fossils embedded in the rock, impressions of leaves and footprints that speak of a time so distant it seems almost like a dream. Yet, in those silent, still stones, the past has been preserved, frozen in time, waiting to be discovered. The creatures of the Triassic, once vibrant and full of life, are now nothing more than shadows in the Earth's memory, their voices lost to the winds of time. And yet, despite the vast span of time that separates us from those creatures, there remains an undeniable connection between the world they inhabited and the one we know now. The air we breathe today is the same air that circulated through those ancient forests. The wind that touches our skin is the same wind that once blew across the vast deserts of Pangaea, carrying with it the sounds of creatures that would never walk the earth again. In some way, the earth's past is not entirely gone. It lingers not in the form of voices we can easily hear or images we can clearly see, but in the subtle, almost imperceptible hum that seems to fill the space between breaths. Perhaps, in the deep silence of the world today, when the wind blows just so and the world falls quiet, we can almost hear the faintest echoes of that distant past, the sound of a world alive with creatures and life forms we will never know, whose presence still lingers in the very air we breathe. In a moment of stillness, if we listen closely enough, we might hear those voices from 200 million years ago, carried to us on the same wind that has circled the globe since the time of the dinosaurs. Their voices may be faint, their sounds barely perceptible, but they are there, just beyond the reach of our senses, waiting to be noticed, an echo from a time long past, still carried in the very breath of the earth. Can sound, in its essence, truly travel through time? This question, both scientific and poetic, lingers in the air as we consider the nature of sound itself. Sound, as we know it, is a phenomenon rooted in vibration, a force that moves through the medium of air, water, or solid objects, creating ripples of energy that our ears detect as sound. Yet, in its simplest form, sound is a wave, an oscillation of molecules in the environment. And like all waves, it does not simply dissipate the moment it is created. It continues stretching out, seeking new spaces to travel, to be heard. Sound does not have a lifespan in the traditional sense. Once a sound is made, it sends out its ripples, which can be perceived in the present but also linger long after the source of the sound has vanished. This lingering quality of sound is part of what makes it such a powerful force. It is not bound by time in the same way that physical objects are. It is, in a sense, both ephemeral and enduring. It moves through the air, traveling in ways that are both unpredictable and deeply connected to the environment it touches. In the context of ancient sound, we begin to wonder if the sound that once filled the earth millions of years ago might still be with us in some form today. The dinosaurs, for example, those towering giants of the Triassic period, would have made sounds, low rumbles, or perhaps piercing calls, to communicate across vast stretches of land. The wind, constantly in motion, would have carried these sounds just as it carries our own voices today. But the creatures themselves are gone. Their presence vanished from the physical world, leaving behind nothing but bones and fossilized footprints. Yet, the question remains, could their sounds, those distant roars or calls, still echo through time? Could the wind, in its eternal journey across the earth, be carrying with it the faintest remnants of those ancient sounds? In the same way that the vibrations of a bell can continue to resonate after the bell has been struck, might there be lingering echoes of life from an era so far removed from ours that it seems impossible to imagine? One way to think about this possibility is to consider the science of sound waves and the environment they inhabit. Sound, when created, travels outward in all directions, bending and twisting through the air. Over time, these sound waves lose their power, their energy dissipating into the surrounding environment. But much like ripples on a pond, they don't entirely vanish. They can be absorbed by the environment, subtly encoded into the very fabric of the world around us, into the earth, the water, the trees, and even the air itself. In the case of the wind, we can imagine it as a vast reservoir of ancient vibrations, carrying the traces of countless moments from the past. The sounds created by the wind, whether they are the rustling of leaves, the call of birds, or the whispers of human voices, are only a small fraction of what the air has experienced over eons. Could it be that, in this intricate tapestry of vibrations, there are echoes of something far older, something lost to time, but still subtly encoded in the very air we breathe? The idea of sound lingering across time is not just a philosophical or poetic one. It has some basis in the physical world. In certain conditions, sound waves can be trapped in enclosed spaces, creating an effect known as resonance, where the sound persists long after the original source is gone. Similarly, certain frequencies of sound can travel great distances, their vibrations reaching the farthest corners of the earth. Could these principles apply to the ancient world? Could the vibrations of creatures long extinct, of life forms that lived 200 million years ago, be preserved in some form in the wind? Perhaps it is not that we will ever hear the sounds in a direct way, like hearing a voice from the past through a radio broadcast. Rather, it is the subtle, almost imperceptible quality of these sounds that might exist in the very molecules of air, in the rustling of the leaves, or the hum of the breeze. Could there be the faintest resonance of an ancient time? In the depths of silence, in those rare still moments when the world seems to hold its breath, might we feel the presence of something from the distant past? This speculative possibility asks us not only to reconsider the nature of sound, but to think of time itself as something fluid, with echoes stretching far beyond the boundaries of the present. The wind, then, may be more than just the breath of the earth. It may also be a messenger, carrying the memories of a time before us. The voices of the past may not always be heard clearly, but they are present nonetheless, rippling through the atmosphere, waiting for the right moment, the right listener to perceive them. In those moments when the wind is calm, when we pause and listen deeply, perhaps we can catch a fleeting, almost imperceptible whisper of a world long gone, carried on the breeze from 200 million years ago. In the quietest moments, when the world seems to still, a certain kind of silence takes shape, one that is not empty, but full, brimming with unspoken presence. It is in these moments of profound silence that we often feel a deeper connection to the world around us. Silence is not just the absence of sound. It is a canvas, a space in which the echoes of the past can settle, waiting to be noticed. As we sit in the stillness, surrounded by the hum of life and the distant murmur of the wind, it becomes clear that silence, in many ways, holds as much power as sound itself. But what is this silence? We experience it as an absence, yet it carries a weight that cannot be easily defined. It is the stillness between thoughts, the pause between words, the moment of breath that holds the promise of something more. It is in the silence that we are most attuned to the natural world, where we listen not for noise but for presence. Silence is the space where the unseen can be felt. It is the place where ancient histories, buried deep within the earth or woven into the very fabric of the wind, can emerge, not in loud proclamations, but in quiet whispers that ask us to pause and listen. This is particularly true when we reflect on the past, the deep past, when the earth was a different world. long before the modern age of human civilization. What we consider silence today may very well be filled with echoes from ancient times, sounds that have long since faded from the surface of the earth, but whose vibrations still ripple beneath the stillness. Could the quiet we feel now be the residue of a time when the earth was alive with the calls of creatures that no longer exist? Could it be that what we think of as silence is, in fact, a canvas painted with the remnants of those voices, a hidden orchestra of life that once thrived on this planet? Imagine the landscape of the earth, 200 million years ago, filled with sounds, the calls of dinosaurs, the rustling of leaves in ancient forests, the splashing of creatures in primordial seas. All of these sounds have long since dissipated, but perhaps in a more subtle form, they are still present. The air, the very atmosphere of the planet, holds the memory of these vibrations like a vast ocean of potential sound, waiting to be stirred. When the wind blows today, it is not merely moving air across the surface of the earth. It is, in some ways, stirring that ocean of sound, reawakening the ancient vibrations that still reside within the molecules of the atmosphere. Silence, then, becomes a mirror to the past, a mirror that reflects the world as it once was, but only when we are quiet enough to notice. It is in these quiet moments that we might sense the presence of creatures long gone, their forms no longer visible, but their essence still lingering in the air. The rustling of the leaves in the wind, the soft whisper of the breeze. These sounds may not belong entirely to the present. They may carry with them the faintest echo of a world that was, a world of giants and ancient landscapes. In the silence between the winds, perhaps we can hear the whispers of that lost world, preserved in the stillness of time, waiting to be recognized. It is also in silence that we become aware of the impermanence of everything around us. Life itself is in constant flux, and silence can serve as a reminder of both the transient nature of existence and the ongoing process of transformation. The wind, carrying the voices of the past, moves from one place to another, never settling for long. What was once a vibrant sound becomes a distant memory, like a leaf carried far from its tree. The voices of the past are, in a sense, always fading, always retreating into the shadow of history, leaving behind only faint echoes for us to decipher. Yet, in the silence of the present, we are also reminded that nothing truly disappears, it simply changes form. The sound of the past may no longer be audible in the way we expect, but it is still there, residing in the particles of air, in the vibrations of the earth itself. The silence, then, becomes an invitation to listen, not just with our ears, but with our senses, to feel the presence of a time long past. The wind may carry these ancient voices, but it is in the silence between the gusts, in the stillness between breaths, that we may sense them most clearly. The paradox of silence, then, is that it is both an absence and a presence. It is the space between words, the pause between thoughts, the quiet hum of the universe that speaks to us without saying a word. In these moments of stillness, when we pause to listen, we might catch a glimpse of the world as it once was, a world where the voices of creatures long extinct still reverberate in the air, carried on the wind like an ancient song, waiting to be heard again. The silence, then, becomes a canvas upon which the past is painted, not in bold strokes, but in soft whispers that only the quietest of listeners can hear. The passage of time, when viewed through the lens of deep reflection, is often an overwhelming and humbling concept. For us, the human experience is but a fleeting moment in the grand narrative of Earth's history. Yet, it is within this brief span of existence that we find ourselves searching for meaning, for connection, for answers to the questions that have plagued humanity for centuries. We look up at the stars and ask, are we alone? We dig into the earth, uncovering fossils, remnants of ancient lives that once walked the same land we now tread upon. We peer into the mysteries of the cosmos, wondering about our place in the vast expanse of the universe. But for all our striving, there is an undeniable truth. We are but a small part of a much larger story, one that stretches far beyond the boundaries of our understanding. 200 million years ago, when the Earth was a different world, the creatures that lived upon it were as much a part of the planet as the wind that blew across its surface or the water that flowed through its rivers. The landscape was not defined by human monuments, cities, or civilizations. Instead, it was a world of giants, dinosaurs that roamed the land in search of food, early plants that unfurled their leaves toward the sun, and small creatures that scurried in the underbrush. And yet, even in this distant past, there was something that connected all life, something fundamental and universal, a force that tied the creatures of the earth to the air they breathed, the soil they walked upon, and the rhythms of the planet itself. It was the pulse of life, a beat that echoed through time, shaping the earth in ways we can still feel today. To understand this pulse of life, we must consider not only the creatures that lived and died, but also the environment that sustained them. The air, thick with different gases than what we breathe today, carried the sounds of a world in motion. The wind, moving across the land, carried with it the vibrations of life, calls from the mighty sauropods, the rustling of ancient ferns, the splashing of early amphibians. These sounds, while imperceptible to our modern ears, were once part of the very fabric of existence, woven into the rhythms of a planet teeming with life. But as the centuries passed and the world shifted, those voices began to fade. The great dinosaurs that once filled the skies and forests were no longer around to make their calls, and the winds began to carry different sounds, new sounds, the sounds of a world that was evolving, changing, and giving way to the creatures that would eventually walk the earth as we know it. And yet, despite the passing of these creatures, the air, the wind, and the very earth itself still carry traces of their existence. These traces are not so easily seen or heard, but they are there, hidden in the vibrations of the planet, waiting to be discovered by those willing to listen. In the context of time, these echoes are not fleeting. They are ancient imprints left behind by the creatures of the past and the landscapes they inhabited. As the wind moves through the trees or sweeps across a vast plain, it does more than simply move the air. It stirs the vibrations that are encoded into the very molecules of the earth. It is as if the planet itself, over the course of millions of years, has absorbed the sounds of life, recording them in the very particles that make up the atmosphere. These ancient imprints of sound are not something we can easily perceive with our everyday senses, but they are there, woven into the fabric of the world, waiting for someone to hear them. This raises a profound question. Can we, as humans, tap into these ancient echoes? Can we connect to a world that existed long before us, and perhaps feel the resonance of life that once was? The answer is elusive, but it invites us into a deeper understanding of time. Perhaps time itself is not a straight line, but a complex web where moments from the past are not completely lost to the void, but continue to exist in subtle forms, like whispers on the wind. In those quiet, still moments, when we pause to listen, perhaps we can hear something of that ancient world, a fleeting sound, a distant call, the faintest trace of a life that once was, carried to us on the very breath of the earth. The wind then becomes a bridge, a link between the present and the past. It is not just a force that moves the air or a mechanism of weather. It is a living memory, a conduit for the voices of creatures long gone, carried through time on the same currents that have flowed across the earth for millions of years. And just as the wind moves through our own lives, touching us in ways we can hardly understand, it carries with it the echoes of a time before us, a time when life was unfolding in ways we can only begin to imagine. To truly understand the wind, we must recognize its role not just as a physical phenomenon, but as a keeper of memories, a silent, invisible witness to the passage of time. The whispers we hear in the wind may not be the loud, clear voices of the past. Instead, they may be subtle, faint, and hard to grasp, like the ghost of a song carried on the breeze, just out of reach. But in that space, in the silence between the gusts, there is a connection to something ancient, a world that once was, waiting to be remembered, if only we listen carefully enough. The mystery of time, then, lies not in its passing, but in its enduring presence, in the echoes it leaves behind. These echoes, carried to us on the wind, remind us that time is not linear, nor is it simply something that moves forward. Time is a circle, a spiral, and in its depths, the past is never truly gone. It continues to resonate, vibrating through the air, through the wind, through the silence. And if we listen closely, with patience and openness, we might just catch a glimpse of that ancient world still alive in the air we breathe. Time, in its most profound sense, is not a mere sequence of events unfolding one after the other. It is a continuous flowing stream, a river that carries the memories of everything that has come before and will continue to shape what is yet to come. This river of time is vast, stretching far beyond the scope of human history, far beyond our brief lifetimes. It is an ongoing current that holds the echoes of the past and the whispers of the future in a delicate, intertwining dance. Yet, for all the weight of time, there are moments, those rare and still moments, when the river slows and we are able to catch a glimpse of something ancient, something timeless, as if the flow of history briefly pauses to allow us to see the world as it once was. It is in these rare pauses that we can feel the presence of something larger than ourselves, a connection to the vast tapestry of life and time that has come before. The wind, ever present, is one of the most powerful symbols of this continuous flow. It moves through the landscape, carrying with it the vibrations of the past. When we feel the wind on our skin, when we hear it rustling through the trees or stirring the grasses, we are, in some sense, touching time itself. The wind is the breath of the earth, the pulse of the planet, a force that has existed for millions of years and will continue to exist long after we are gone. But what is it that the wind carries? What are the ancient vibrations it transports as it moves across the surface of the earth? To consider this question is to think about the profound nature of sound and how it interacts with the world around us. Sound is more than just noise. It is vibration, a physical force that moves through matter, leaving an imprint on everything it touches. When a sound is made, it ripples outward, traveling through the air in waves, each wave carrying a trace of the source from which it originated. Over time, these sound waves dissipate, their energy fading, but they do not disappear entirely. They leave behind echoes, subtle imprints in the environment, like footprints in the sand. These imprints, or echoes, are not simply confined to the moments in which they were created. Just as the wind carries the memory of the weather and the seasons, it can also carry the faintest traces of ancient sounds, of vibrations that have long since been absorbed into the earth. The rustling of trees today, the sound of leaves being stirred by the breeze, could very well be carrying the vibrations of a world long past. The dinosaurs, those great creatures that once walked the land, left behind not just their bones and footprints, but the sounds they made, the low rumbles of their calls, the rustling of their movements, the splashing of their feet in ancient swamps. While these sounds are no longer audible to our ears, the vibrations they created may still be present, encoded into the very fabric of the earth. The wind, in its eternal motion, is the messenger of these ancient echoes, carrying with it the sound of a time long gone, a time that no human has ever known, but a time that still lingers in the memory of the earth. What is even more fascinating is the notion that these ancient sounds are not lost to time. Though we cannot hear them with our ears, it is possible that the wind is, in some way, still transmitting them, preserving them, if only faintly, in the very air we breathe. The trees that sway in the wind, the grasses that bend and sway in response to its force, might be echoing back the sounds that once reverberated through the land. The songs of the dinosaurs, once loud and clear, are now just ripples, small, almost imperceptible echoes carried by the wind, woven into the vibrations of the environment. In the same way that sound can be captured and preserved by human technology, recorded onto a tape, etched into vinyl, or saved in digital formats, the earth itself has a way of capturing and holding on to the sounds that have passed through it. The rock formations, the soil, the trees, and the air, all of these elements have absorbed the vibrations of the past. They are like living records, each one containing the imprint of sounds that have been made over millennia. The wind, as it moves through these landscapes, can stir those vibrations, gently waking them up, as if to remind us of the world that was. These echoes, though faint and distant, are a reminder that the past is not truly gone. It is still with us, moving in the air, carried on the wind, waiting for us to listen. The question then becomes, how can we, as human beings, attune ourselves to these subtle vibrations, to the echoes of a time long past? How can we listen to a sound that was made millions of years ago in a world that is both foreign and familiar? The answer lies not in the act of hearing, but in the act of feeling. Sound is a vibration, and while our ears may not always be able to perceive these ancient echoes, our bodies can still feel the presence of the past. When the wind touches our skin, when we pause and listen, we can sense that we are connected to something larger, something more enduring than our own brief lives. The wind carries the memory of time itself, the pulse of the earth, and if we are quiet enough, if we are still enough, we might feel the presence of those ancient sounds, faint but ever present, like whispers on the wind. In this way, the wind serves as a reminder of the continuity of life, of the constant flow of time. It is a reminder that although the creatures of the past may no longer walk the earth, their presence is still here, in the very air we breathe, in the rustling of the trees, in the shifting of the sands. The echoes of the past are not lost. They are simply waiting to be noticed, waiting to be felt, carried to us on the wind. And when we listen, truly listen, we can hear the story of the earth unfolding, an ancient song still carried on the breeze. In the search for meaning, humanity often looks to the stars, to the distant reaches of the universe, as though there lies an answer to the eternal questions of existence. We imagine with wonder and curiosity that somewhere out there, among the vastness of space, we may find the key to understanding our place in the grand scheme of things. But what if the answer we seek is not found in the far-off galaxies or in the emptiness of the void, but right here on Earth, in the very air we breathe, in the wind that whispers through the trees, and in the sounds that have traveled across time to reach us. Could it be that the answers we seek, the echoes of a deeper truth, are already part of the world we inhabit, waiting for us to notice? The Earth itself, with its intricate ecosystems, its varied landscapes, and its ever-changing rhythms, is a kind of cosmic laboratory where the mysteries of life and time are constantly unfolding. The creatures that once roamed the Earth, from the smallest insects to the largest dinosaurs, were not simply passive participants in the story of the planet. They were active agents, shaping the environment around them, leaving behind traces of their existence in the very fabric of the Earth. Their lives, their movements, their sounds, were all part of a greater symphony, a cosmic dance that resonated across time. Consider the wind, a force that moves invisibly through the world, carrying with it the sounds of the past. When the wind blows, it stirs the air, sending vibrations rippling through the atmosphere. These vibrations are not mere noises. They are imprints of a world that existed long before human beings began to chart the stars or write down the stories of their civilizations. The wind carries with it the echoes of life, of creatures that roamed the land, of plants that reached for the sun, of ecosystems that were once teeming with life. These imprints are not static. They are dynamic, always in motion, constantly evolving as the Earth itself shifts and changes. The idea that the wind might carry the voices of the past is both a poetic and scientific concept. It suggests that sound, like memory, does not simply fade away when it is no longer heard. It lingers, embedded in the very elements of the Earth. Just as a tree can hold the memory of a past season, or a stone can hold the imprint of ancient forces that shaped its form, the air we breathe may carry within it the vibrations of life long past. These vibrations may be faint, almost imperceptible, but they are there, embedded in the molecules of air, in the movement of wind, in the rhythms of the Earth. What is most fascinating about this idea is that these echoes of the past are not confined to the distant past, but are instead part of an ongoing process, a continual cycle of renewal and transformation. The wind does not simply carry the sounds of the past. It also carries the sounds of the present and the future, blending them together in a continuous flow. The wind, in a sense, is both a time machine and a messenger, linking the past to the present to the future, all within the span of a single breath. To understand this, we must think of time not as a linear progression, but as a vast interconnected web, where moments are not isolated from one another, but are instead part of a greater whole. Just as sound waves ripple outward, creating a network of vibrations that spread across the Earth, so too does time stretch outward, connecting past, present, and future in a continuous flow. The wind, then, becomes a metaphor for this flow of time, a symbol of the way in which all things are interconnected, all things are part of the same cosmic rhythm. When we pause and listen to the wind, we are not just hearing the sounds of the present moment. We are hearing the echoes of a much deeper truth, an ancient truth that binds us to the Earth and to the universe itself. The wind carries the voices of the past, but it also carries the potential of the future. It reminds us that time is not a rigid, unchanging force, but a fluid, dynamic process, one that we are all a part of. Just as the wind moves across the surface of the Earth, carrying with it the traces of ancient sounds, so too does time move, carrying with it the traces of everything that has come before and everything that will come after. In this way, the wind becomes a symbol of continuity and connection, a force that links us to the past, to the present, and to the future. It is a reminder that no matter how fleeting our individual lives may be, we are all part of a greater, eternal process, a cosmic dance that has been unfolding for millions of years and will continue long after we are gone. The wind does not belong to any one moment in time. It belongs to all moments, to the endless flow of existence. And as we listen to its whispers, as we feel its breath on our skin, we are reminded that we are not isolated, but are part of something far greater, a force that transcends time, a force that connects all things. Perhaps then, the search for meaning is not a quest to discover something that is separate from us, but a journey to reconnect with the rhythms of the earth, with the winds that have carried the voices of the past and will carry the sounds of the future. It is a journey that asks us to listen, not just with our ears, but with our hearts, to the subtle vibrations that shape the world around us. In the wind, in the air, in the silence between breaths, we might find the answers we seek, the echoes of a time long past, the promise of a future yet to be written, and the profound realization that we are part of a much larger story, one that stretches across time and space, one that connects us all. The ancient world, vast and teeming with life, was not a place defined by the presence of human beings. Long before we walked upon the earth, the planet was alive with creatures of extraordinary diversity. Some of these creatures were massive, their bones and footprints now fossilized into the layers of rock that make up the Earth's crust. Others were smaller, more ephemeral, leaving behind only traces of their existence in the form of ancient pollen, the impressions of leaves on stone, or the faintest echoes in the wind. But regardless of their size, all of these creatures shared something profound. They were all part of a greater, interconnected web of life, a system where every living thing, no matter how small or seemingly insignificant, had a role to play in the unfolding drama of Earth's history. To imagine this ancient world is to imagine a planet very different from the one we know today. The air was thick with moisture, the atmosphere laden with gases that we no longer breathe. The land was a wild place, covered in dense forests, vast swamps, and towering mountains. The skies were filled with strange creatures, flying reptiles, ancient birds, and swarms of insects that flitted through the air, their wings beating in unison with the rhythm of the earth. The oceans were teeming with marine life, from the tiniest plankton to the massive creatures that swam beneath the surface, their enormous bodies moving through the water with the grace of a dancer. And yet, for all its diversity, the ancient world was also a world defined by fragility. The creatures that lived during this time were not invincible. They too were subject to the whims of nature. In fact, the very systems that supported life, the air, the water, the climate, were in a constant state of flux, shifting and changing over time in response to geological and cosmic forces. Volcanic eruptions, asteroid impacts, and changes in the Earth's orbit all played a role in shaping the world of the ancient past, leading to periods of great abundance, as well as times of scarcity and extinction. Despite the unpredictability of this ancient world, there was a remarkable resilience in the creatures that called it home. The fossils we uncover today are not simply the remnants of extinct life. They are the markers of survival. These creatures adapted, evolved, and persisted in the face of tremendous change, their bones and bodies bearing witness to the passage of time. The legacy of their existence is etched into the very earth beneath our feet, a reminder that life, in all its forms, has always been a delicate balance between creation and destruction. In considering these creatures, we also must think about the sounds they made, the vibrations they created in the environment. We can only speculate about what their calls may have sounded like, but the possibility that those sounds could still be carried by the wind, still linger in the vibrations of the earth, is a profound thought. Imagine the low rumble of a dinosaur's roar, the rustling of leaves as a herbivore pushes through the underbrush, the croak of an amphibian calling out to its mate in the early dawn. These sounds, though lost to time, may still echo in the air. The vibrations of these ancient creatures carried forward by the wind, whispered through the leaves of trees, and felt in the very soil beneath our feet. To think that these sounds, these voices, might still be present in the world around us is to think of the earth as a living, breathing organism, one that holds within it the memory of all the creatures that have ever existed. In a sense, the earth itself is a repository of sound, of history, and of life. The wind, as it moves across the land, carries with it not just the physical particles of the air, but the imprint of all that has come before. The rustling of ancient forests, the roars of long-extinct creatures, the songs of the earth itself. The notion that the wind could carry the voices of the past brings with it a sense of continuity, a reminder that the earth is not simply a collection of lifeless rocks and dirt, but a dynamic living entity that has witnessed the rise and fall of countless species, each one leaving its mark on the world in some way. These marks may not always be visible, but they are there, embedded in the very fabric of the planet. The wind is a vehicle for these imprints, moving across the earth, stirring the air, and carrying with it the traces of life that once was. This idea also invites us to think more deeply about the concept of memory. Memory is not just something that exists in the minds of living creatures. It is also something that can be embedded in the environment itself. The rocks, the soil, the trees, and the air are all, in a sense, living records of the past. Just as a photograph can capture a moment in time or a book can record a story, the earth holds within it the story of life itself, a story that is constantly being written, recorded, and preserved. The wind, in its movement, is like a page turning, the stories of the past revealed in whispers, in faint vibrations, in the subtle rustling of the air. What does this mean for us as human beings, who have only been on the planet for a fraction of its history? It means that we are not isolated from the past, but are instead part of a continuous, ongoing process. We are connected to the earth and to the creatures that lived before us, not just through the bones and fossils they left behind, but through the very air we breathe, through the wind that carries their echoes. Our lives, too, are part of this greater story, this ongoing conversation between past, present, and future. The presence of the past in the world around us also reminds us of the impermanence of life. The dinosaurs, the plants, the ancient ecosystems, all of these were once vibrant, full of life, but they have since faded into the past, leaving behind only traces of their existence. In this way, the earth serves as both a monument to life and a reminder of its fragility. It is a place where life rises and falls, where species evolve and go extinct, and where the winds carry the voices of all those who have come before. Perhaps then, the wind is not only a carrier of ancient sounds, but also a symbol of the constant flux of life itself, of creation, of destruction, and of the cycles that shape the world. The wind reminds us that nothing is permanent, that everything is in a constant state of change. Yet, even in the face of this impermanence, there is a beauty to be found. In the echoes of the past, in the whispers of ancient creatures, in the vibrations carried by the wind, there is a profound connection to the earth, to time, and to the ongoing story of life. And in this connection, we find a sense of peace, a sense of belonging to something far greater than ourselves. The relationship between time and life is often understood in terms of linear progression, an unbroken chain of events stretching from the past, through the present, and into the future. But time is far more complex than this. While it's true that events unfold in a sequence, the past is never truly gone, nor is the future entirely unknown. Instead, both the past and future exist as potentialities, woven into the fabric of the present. The interplay between past, present, and future is less like a simple timeline and more like a woven tapestry, where each thread, each moment, carries the weight of everything that came before and holds the potential for everything that will come after. When we pause to consider the immensity of time, it's as though we're standing at the edge of an endless ocean, gazing into its depths, unable to comprehend its full vastness. The waves of the past continually lap at the shores of the present, each one carrying a bit of the history it's traveled through. These waves might seem distant, washed away by time, but they are never entirely gone. They leave behind subtle traces, tiny ripples, that continue to influence the currents of today. Just as the wind carries the sound waves of ancient voices, so too does time carry the imprint of every life that has ever lived. Yet, while the past is preserved in the subtle vibrations of the earth, it's the future that remains a mystery. The future is not set in stone. It is a vast expanse of possibility, a sea of potential outcomes that waits for the present moment to navigate its course. And in this uncertainty, in this uncharted territory, there lies an undeniable beauty. The future is not something we can control or predict, but something that unfolds with each breath we take. Like the wind, it moves with a force beyond our comprehension, sweeping us along its currents as it shapes the world around us. There is a sense of mystery in the future, a sense of awe and wonder that arises from its unpredictability. The future is the place where all things are possible, where the choices we make today can alter the course of history, where the unknown holds the promise of new beginnings and untold stories. Yet, just as we cannot predict the exact shape of the future, we cannot fully comprehend the weight of the past. The past is a shadow that lingers, always present, even as it recedes into the distance. It is the foundation upon which we stand, yet it is also something that can never be fully grasped, no matter how much we try to understand it. The wind, in its perpetual movement, is both a carrier of the past and a herald of the future. It connects us to the distant echoes of history, but it also carries with it the potential of what is to come. Each gust of wind, each whisper through the trees, is both a reminder of all that has been and a harbinger of what will be. Time is not a straight line, but a dynamic force, ever-changing and ever-present, weaving together the threads of past, present, and future in a way that is both mysterious and beautiful. In this sense, time becomes a kind of storyteller, narrating the saga of existence through the subtle movements of the wind. It speaks to us in quiet whispers, inviting us to listen, to reflect, and to consider our place within this vast, ever-unfolding story. The earth, in its boundless complexity, offers us not just a living, breathing ecosystem, but also an intricate repository of memory, one that stores not only the remnants of past life, but the energy that once animated it. Just as the wind can carry the voices of creatures that lived millions of years ago, so too can the earth itself hold the energy and essence of those creatures, storing their stories in ways that we are only beginning to understand. This energy, though unseen and intangible, moves through the land, through the air, and through all the living things that share this planet. It is the invisible thread that connects the past to the present, the living to the dead, and each moment to the next. When we think of energy, we often imagine the electricity that powers our homes or the sun's warmth that nourishes the earth. But energy, in the broader sense, is far more elusive than this. It is the force that drives life itself, animating every cell, every atom, every molecule. It flows through all things, moving and changing, never truly dissipating, but constantly transforming, adapting, and evolving. The energy that powered the dinosaurs' massive bodies is not gone. It has merely shifted, transformed, and found new homes in the trees, the rivers, the mountains, and in the very air we breathe. It is a reminder that life is not just about the creatures we see today, but about the entire continuous web of life that has existed on Earth since time immemorial. This idea of energy as a continual flow, moving from one form to another, invites us to think of life as a constant exchange, a dance of creation and dissolution, where each being is both a product of the past and a contributor to the future. Just as the wind carries the ancient voices of the earth, so too does the energy of past life flow through us, influencing the very makeup of our bodies, the choices we make, and the way we experience the world. When we breathe, we take in the air that once nourished the leaves of ancient trees. When we drink water, we consume the same liquid that has coursed through countless generations of creatures. The elements of life, it seems, never truly leave us. They are always part of us, always moving through us, always present in the flow of time. And yet, despite this constant flow, we often forget our connection to the past. We are so consumed with the present, so focused on the now, that we fail to recognize the depth of our connection to the earth and to the countless generations that have come before us. But this connection is always there, always beneath the surface, like a deep river flowing just out of sight. It is in the quiet hum of the wind, the rustling of the leaves, the rise and fall of the tides. It is in the cycles of the moon, the turning of the seasons, and the migrations of birds. These are the rhythms of the earth, the patterns that govern life, the deep eternal currents that shape our existence without us even realizing it. In the grand expanse of time, each life is but a brief flicker, a fleeting moment in the vast tapestry of existence. Yet, in that flicker, there is profound meaning. For it is through our brief moments that the energy of life is passed on, and it is through our connections to the earth and to each other that we contribute to the ongoing dance of existence. The wind, the trees, the mountains, the rivers, all are part of the same story, and we too are part of that story. We may be small, we may be temporary, but we are not insignificant. Our lives, too, carry the energy of those who came before us, and we, in turn, will pass that energy on to those who come after. This cycle of energy, of creation and dissolution, is not just a scientific phenomenon. It is a spiritual one as well. To recognize our place within this cycle is to come to terms with our own mortality, to understand that we are part of something much larger than ourselves. It is a humbling realization, but also a liberating one. For if we are part of this eternal flow, then our lives are imbued with a kind of purpose that transcends time. We are not isolated beings, drifting aimlessly through the world. We are connected to the past, to the future, to every living thing that has ever existed. We are threads in the great weave of time, each of us playing a small but significant role in the larger story of life. When we look at the world through this lens, we begin to see that everything is interconnected. The wind, the trees, the animals, the mountains, the oceans, they are all part of the same story, each contributing to the energy that moves through the earth. And we too are part of that story. Our actions, our choices, our lives, they ripple through the fabric of time, sending out waves of energy that influence the world around us. It is in the way we live, the way we treat the earth, and the way we relate to other beings that we leave our mark on the world. We may not be able to see the full impact of our actions, but we can be certain that they are felt, that they reverberate through the fabric of existence in ways we cannot fully understand. To live with this awareness, to recognize the deep interconnectedness of all life, is to live with a sense of reverence for the earth and for the energy that flows through it. It is to understand that we are not separate from the world around us, but an integral part of it. Our lives are a reflection of the energy that flows through us, and it is in the way we move through the world, the way we interact with others, and the way we honor the earth that we contribute to the ongoing flow of life. In a sense, the energy of the earth is a kind of memory, a record of all that has come before and all that will come after. It is a living, breathing testament to the continuity of life, a reminder that we are part of something far greater than ourselves. And just as the wind carries the voices of the past, so too does this energy carry the echoes of all that has ever lived, inviting us to listen, to reflect, and to understand our place within the grand cycle of existence. Time, as it stretches outward into the vastness of the cosmos, often presents us with a paradox. We are both insignificant in the grand scale of the universe, and yet undeniably connected to it in ways that transcend simple physical reality. As we stand on the surface of this small planet, we often find ourselves gazing upward, wondering about the stars and the infinite expanse of space. The cosmos is a realm so immense, so beyond the comprehension of our limited human understanding, that it challenges our perception of our own existence. And yet, as we ponder the stars, we are reminded that we are made of the very same elements that populate the universe. The atoms in our bodies, the molecules that compose our cells, are remnants of the cosmos itself, formed in the hearts of stars that exploded long before the Earth came into being. This connection between us and the universe is not merely a scientific fact. It is a deeply philosophical truth. We are born from the stars, and in a very real sense, the universe is alive within us. The dust that once filled the void of space, the particles that coalesced to form the first stars, the elements that were forged in the furnaces of these celestial giants, all of these are now part of us. The iron in our blood, the calcium in our bones, the oxygen we breathe, each of these elements was once part of a star, part of a cosmic cycle that has brought us into being. We are the universe, in a sense, made conscious. And yet, for all the knowledge we have accumulated about the cosmos, we remain, in many ways, disconnected from it. We are bound by the limitations of our senses, trapped within the confines of our bodies, unable to fully comprehend the scale of the universe or our place within it. The stars may twinkle above us, but their light is so distant, so removed from our everyday lives, that we rarely stop to truly consider their significance. The vastness of space is so overwhelming that it is difficult to grasp, difficult to hold in our minds for any length of time. We are like specks of dust lost in the infinite expanse of the cosmos, and yet we are part of that very cosmos, an integral part of the universe's ongoing story. This disconnection from the cosmos is not just a physical limitation. It is also a psychological one. We are often consumed by the immediacy of our own lives, the struggles, the joys, the routines, the responsibilities, that we forget our place in the greater scheme of things. We become so fixated on the small, personal dramas of our daily existence that we lose sight of the larger narrative in which we play a role. And yet, it is only when we step back, when we expand our consciousness beyond the immediate concerns of our lives, that we can begin to truly appreciate the vastness of time, space, and our connection to it. There is a profound peace in this realization. To understand that we are part of something so much greater than ourselves, that we are woven into the fabric of the universe, is to find a sense of humility and awe. We are not the center of the universe, nor are we its masters. We are simply part of its ongoing story, a small but meaningful thread in a vast, ever-unfolding tapestry. This understanding shifts our perspective, allowing us to view our lives not as isolated events, but as part of a cosmic flow, a wave that stretches through time and space, touching everything in its path. The stars, in their distant brilliance, remind us that time and space are not things to be feared or understood in absolute terms. They are dynamic, fluid, ever-changing, and full of mystery. The universe is not a cold, indifferent expanse, but a living, breathing entity, constantly evolving, constantly unfolding. It is not merely a backdrop against which we play out our individual stories. It is a participant in those stories, a force that shapes and defines them. And in this realization, we are granted a deeper sense of perspective, a recognition that our lives are not as isolated as we might believe, that we are part of an ongoing cosmic journey that stretches far beyond our comprehension. In the great scheme of time, our lives may seem fleeting, like a brief flicker in the vast expanse of the universe. But this fleeting moment is no less significant for its brevity. It is in the fragility and impermanence of our existence that we find our true connection to the cosmos. We are not meant to endure forever, but rather to live with purpose, to live in harmony with the natural world, to acknowledge the deep interconnection between ourselves and the universe. This awareness transforms our understanding of life and death, of beginning and end. We are not separate from the universe, but woven into its fabric, and our lives are a part of the greater cosmic rhythm that moves through the ages. When we contemplate the stars, we are not just gazing at distant lights in the sky. We are looking into the very heart of existence itself. The light we see is ancient, having traveled across unimaginable distances and time. It carries with it the stories of stars that no longer exist, of worlds that have come and gone, of forces that shaped the cosmos long before our time. And yet, in that light, we see our own reflection. The stars are not distant and disconnected from us. They are the ancestors of the very atoms that make up our bodies, the echoes of the same forces that created us. In this way, the stars are not just out there in the sky. They are part of us, and we are part of them. This connection to the cosmos is not simply a metaphor or a poetic fancy. It is a scientific truth. We are literally made of stardust, the remnants of exploded stars that once lit up the heavens. The elements that formed the first living creatures, the atoms that make up every living being on Earth, were forged in the heart of stars, scattered across the universe by supernovae, and eventually coalesced to form the Earth, the life it nurtures, and the human beings who now walk its surface. We are the products of this ancient process, the children of the stars, born of the cosmic dance that has been unfolding for billions of years. And so, when we look up at the night sky, we are not just looking at distant lights. We are looking at the very history of existence, a history that is intertwined with our own. We are reminded that we are not isolated from the universe, but intricately woven into it, bound by the same forces that have shaped the cosmos. The wind, the trees, the mountains, the oceans, the stars, they are all part of the same story. And we too are part of that story, a living testament to the eternal dance of time and space. As we begin to look deeper into the fundamental nature of time and existence, we find that everything, every life, every moment, is part of a larger, intricate pattern that stretches across the ages. And in this pattern, there is something both humbling and magnificent. The notion that all things are interconnected, not just in the present, but across time itself. This realization does not merely awaken in us a sense of wonder. It also prompts us to reconsider our place in the grand story of the universe. Time, often perceived as a relentless, linear march toward the future, suddenly appears not as a straightforward path, but as a vast, winding river that loops back, weaving through both past and future. What is perhaps most awe-inspiring is the way that life, its rhythms, its rise and fall, its birth and death, seems to be etched not only into the physical world, but also into the very fabric of time. The Earth, with all its countless forms of life, is but one node in a vast cosmic web extending both backward to the distant past and forward to the farthest reaches of time yet to come. The wind, the oceans, the mountains, the stars, they are all part of this web, their movements contributing to the great current of existence. And we too are caught in this current, swept along by forces that are as ancient as the earth itself, as timeless as the stars. In the grand context of the universe, we are both small and large, transient and eternal. Our lives may seem brief, fleeting, inconsequential, but in the grand scheme of things, this very impermanence is what gives life its richness and meaning. Time is not simply a measure of passing moments. It is the very substance of life. It is the thread that binds all living things together, that connects the stars, the earth, and the creatures that inhabit it. It is the river that carries us, the current that pulls us forward and backward, linking us to those who came before us and those who will come after. This interconnection between past, present, and future reveals something extraordinary about the nature of existence, that nothing is ever truly lost. The energy that once fueled the dinosaurs, the plants, the creatures of the earth, is still with us, present in the soil, the air, and the very atoms that make up our bodies. The lives of those who have passed before us are not erased. They are woven into the fabric of time, preserved in the cycles of nature, in the whispers of the wind, in the rhythm of the earth's movements. And as we live our lives, we too contribute to this ongoing pattern, adding our own voices to the song of existence, leaving behind traces that will echo into the future. In this way, the concept of time itself becomes something more than a simple chronology of events. Time is not a line, but a vast spiraling web of interconnectedness, a flow that we are all part of, each of us contributing in our own small way to the larger whole. We are not separate from the universe. We are one with it, existing as part of the same great cycle that has been unfolding since the dawn of time. And in this understanding, we begin to see that our lives, no matter how brief, are imbued with a kind of sacred significance, for we are not just individuals passing through time. We are active participants in its unfolding. At the same time, this realization encourages us to be mindful of how we move through the world. If time is indeed a vast web, then every action, every decision we make sends ripples throughout the fabric of existence. Each breath we take, each word we speak, each choice we make echoes through time, touching lives in ways we may never fully comprehend. We may not see the direct impact of our actions, but the threads we weave today will influence the future in ways both seen and unseen. The idea that our lives contribute to a larger cosmic pattern calls us to live with intention, with awareness, and with reverence for the forces that have shaped the world and continue to shape it. This interconnectedness is not merely an abstract concept. It is something we can feel in our everyday lives. The wind that blows through the trees, the rustling of leaves in the autumn breeze, the rise and fall of the tides. These natural rhythms are constant reminders of the great cycle of life and time. When we stop to listen, to observe, to connect with the world around us, we are tuning into the pulse of existence itself. We are not just living in a world. We are part of it, immersed in its movements, its energies, its stories. This deep connection to time, to life, to the universe is what makes the study of existence, whether through science, philosophy, or simple observation, a profoundly spiritual experience. It is an invitation to step outside of the daily concerns of our individual lives and see the larger picture, to recognize that we are part of something far greater than ourselves. The stars, the wind, the trees, the soil, they are not separate from us. They are not distant or abstract. They are with us always, pulsing in rhythm with the beating of our hearts, reminding us that we are part of an eternal flow. This is where the beauty of impermanence becomes clear. Life's transience does not diminish its value. Rather, it enhances it. It is because time is always moving forward, because life is always changing, that we are able to appreciate each moment as it comes. The fleeting nature of our existence makes every breath, every touch, every moment of connection infinitely precious. Time is not something to be feared, not something to be outrun, but something to be embraced as it carries us forward into the unknown. And so we arrive at a deeper understanding of the great cosmic dance we are part of. Life is not a race to the finish line, but a slow unfolding, a gentle drift in the current of time, where every movement, no matter how small, is part of the eternal flow of existence. The wind, the stars, the trees, they are all reminders that time is not a series of isolated events, but a vast interconnected network where every action, every breath, every life is part of something greater. As we move through our own lives, we become more aware of this interconnectedness, more mindful of the energy we share, and more attuned to the rhythm of the world around us. Through this awareness, we begin to understand that time, in all its mystery and beauty, is not something outside of us. It is within us, shaping us, guiding us, and carrying us forward into the infinite possibilities of existence. In the closing moments of our journey through time, space, and existence, we are faced with a profound truth. The universe, in all its immensity and complexity, is not just a collection of stars, planets, and particles. It is a living, breathing entity, and we, as part of it, are equally alive. We are not just observers of this grand spectacle. We are participants, woven into the fabric of the cosmos. Every breath we take, every thought we think, every choice we make sends ripples through the universe, intertwining us with everything that has ever been and everything that will ever be. And in this realization, we begin to understand that the story of the cosmos and the story of our lives are inseparable. Throughout this exploration, we have ventured across the vast stretches of time, from the distant past, where ancient winds may still carry the whispers of long-forgotten life, to the distant future, where our actions today will reverberate through the ages. We have touched upon the invisible forces that bind us to the earth, to the stars, and to each other, and we have seen how these forces shape the very nature of existence. The wind that carries the voices of the past, the energy that flows through all living things, and the cycles of time that govern the rise and fall of civilizations. They are all part of the same cosmic dance that we, too, are part of. And as we reflect on this, we are reminded that our lives are not separate from the universe, but deeply embedded in it, each of us a unique expression of its eternal rhythm. The truth of our interconnectedness, of our participation in the ongoing story of the universe, can be both humbling and empowering. It reminds us that we are not alone in our existence, not isolated from the world around us. We are part of a larger, ever-unfolding pattern, a pattern that transcends time, space, and even death itself. And in this awareness, we come to understand that our lives, though brief in the grand sweep of time, are meaningful, filled with purpose, and connected to something far greater than ourselves. This understanding of our place within the cosmos calls us to live with intention, with mindfulness, and with reverence. If we are truly part of this great cosmic flow, then every action, every decision, every moment carries weight. The choices we make today will echo into the future, shaping the world for generations yet unborn. The way we treat the earth, the way we treat each other, the way we live our lives. all of these contribute to the ongoing story of the universe. We are not passive observers. We are active participants in the dance of existence, and our lives, no matter how small they may seem, are part of something much larger, much more significant. In this recognition of our place within the vastness of time and space, we are also reminded of the beauty of impermanence. Life, like the wind, is ever-changing, ever-moving, and fleeting. But it is this very transience that gives life its richness, its depth, and its meaning. If time were infinite, if existence were eternal, perhaps the beauty of a single moment would be lost. It is because life is fleeting, because we are constantly moving forward, that each breath, each heartbeat, each passing day is imbued with a unique and precious significance. The beauty of life lies not in its permanence, but in its impermanence, the way it flows, changes, and renews itself. As we stand at the threshold of this realization, we are invited to embrace the present moment. The past, with all its lessons, has shaped us, but it is the present that we live. The future, with its infinite possibilities, is yet to come, but it is shaped by the choices we make today. Time, in all its vastness and complexity, is both a gift and a challenge. It is a gift because it allows us to experience the wonders of life, to witness the unfolding of the universe, and to participate in the cosmic dance. And it is a challenge because it constantly reminds us of our own mortality, of the fleeting nature of our existence. Yet it is precisely this awareness of time's passing that makes every moment so precious, so full of meaning. In the end, the story of the wind, the voices carried across millions of years, the whispers of life that echo through the ages, is not just a story of the past. It is our story, too. The wind that carries the voices of ancient creatures is the same wind that fills our lungs today. The energy that once powered the dinosaurs is the same energy that flows through our bodies, giving us life. The cycles of time, the rise and fall of civilizations, the ebb and flow of nature. They are the rhythms that govern our lives, the pulse that moves us forward from one moment to the next. We are part of a vast, intricate pattern that stretches across the cosmos, and we are not alone in this journey. The stars, the wind, the earth, they are our companions, our ancestors, our future. And as we move through our own lives, we are reminded that we are not separate from the universe, but deeply embedded in it. Our lives are part of a much larger, ongoing story, a story that stretches across time, space, and eternity. So, as we close our eyes, as we let go of the day and allow ourselves to drift into sleep, let us remember that we are part of this vast, timeless dance. Let us remember that the wind, the stars, and the earth are not distant and disconnected from us, but are part of the very essence of who we are. And in this awareness, we find peace, knowing that we are not alone in the universe, that we are always connected, always part of the eternal flow. The wind carries the voices of the past. The energy of the universe flows through us, and we, in turn, carry that energy forward, contributing to the ongoing story of existence. And in that story, our lives are meaningful, significant, and beautiful, no matter how brief they may seem. As we continue this journey into the depths of existence, we are met with a profound realization. The universe, in all its boundless vastness, is not a silent, indifferent expanse. It is alive, full of rhythm and energy, and teeming with stories. stories that stretch back billions of years and stories that have yet to unfold. In this silent expanse, where stars are born, live, and die, where galaxies collide and coalesce, there is an underlying pulse, a heartbeat of sorts, that connects everything. That pulse is time, an invisible force, subtle yet constant, that binds the universe together, guiding the movements of everything from the tiniest particles to the largest celestial bodies. And just as time governs the cosmos, it also governs us, shaping our lives, our actions, and our perceptions. In the quiet solitude of the night, when the world slows down and the noise of the day fades away, we are granted a rare opportunity to reflect on the nature of time and its influence. The stillness of the night invites us to pause, to listen, to feel the pulse of time beneath the surface of our own lives. As we lie beneath the stars, we are reminded of our own smallness, of how fleeting our moments are in the context of the universe. But in this acknowledgement of our own temporal nature, there is also a great beauty, a beauty that comes from understanding that time, though fleeting, is what makes our lives precious. Every moment we experience is unique, never to be repeated, and yet it is part of a greater cycle that has been unfolding for eons. This cycle, though it may appear endless, is always moving forward, always progressing. And just as time stretches outward in all directions, so too do the echoes of our actions, thoughts, and decisions reverberate through time. Our lives, though brief in the cosmic scale, are woven into the tapestry of existence in ways we cannot always see. The choices we make, the lives we touch, the love we give, and the kindness we show ripple outward, shaping the future in ways that are both known and unknown. These ripples, though seemingly small, have the power to alter the course of events, to change the lives of others, and to contribute to the ongoing story of the universe. This awareness of the interconnectedness of all things, of the infinite dance of cause and effect, brings us to a deeper understanding of our place in the cosmos. We are not isolated individuals wandering through a detached universe. We are part of the web of existence, and every action we take is a thread in that web. The wind that stirs the trees, the rain that nourishes the earth, the stars that burn in the sky, they are all part of the same flow, the same pulse that moves through time. And we too are part of that flow, contributing to the eternal rhythm of the universe. As we consider this interconnectedness, we are reminded that time is not just something that happens to us. It is not simply a series of moments that pass one after the other, indifferent to our actions. Time is a living, breathing force, one that is shaped by our choices and by our presence. The past, with all its stories, is not gone. It lives within us, carried in the cells of our bodies, in the energy that flows through us. The future, though unseen, is not a void. It is shaped by the energy we put into the world today, by the love, the hope, and the intention we carry with us as we move through life. This understanding of time as both a force and a cycle brings us to a place of reverence. We begin to see time not as an enemy, something we must fight against, but as a partner, one with whom we dance. In this dance, we are both the dancers and the music, our movements, our choices, our intentions reverberating through the vastness of time, creating harmony and rhythm in the symphony of existence. We are part of something much greater than ourselves, something that has been unfolding for billions of years and will continue long after we are gone. And yet, our lives, brief though they may be, are essential to the unfolding of that story. The energy of the universe flows through us, and in our quiet moments of reflection, we can feel it. It is in the stillness of the night, in the quiet breath that we take, in the beat of our hearts. We are connected to the stars, to the wind, to the ocean, to all of life. The elements that form the earth, the elements that forge the stars, are the very same elements that make up our bodies, our thoughts, our emotions. We are stardust, born of the same cosmic forces that shape the universe. And as we reflect on this, we are invited to live with greater awareness, greater mindfulness, and greater appreciation for the fleeting beauty of our existence. This realization leads us to a sense of humility, for it is through understanding our smallness within the vastness of time and space that we come to appreciate the enormity of what it means to exist at all. We are but a fleeting moment in the grand tapestry of the universe, yet we are part of that tapestry, woven into its threads. And in this recognition, we find peace. For though we may be small in the grand scheme of things, our lives are no less significant. They are precious because they are part of the eternal flow of time, part of the cosmic dance that has been unfolding since the beginning of the universe. As we drift into the quiet of sleep, we are reminded that time, in all its mystery, is not something to fear. It is a gift that allows us to experience the wonder of life, the beauty of the present moment, and the deep connection we share with all things. The stars, the wind, the earth, the sea, they are not distant, separate from us. They are part of us, and we are part of them. And as we close our eyes and surrender to sleep, we are embraced by the eternal rhythm of the universe, carried gently forward by the pulse of time, knowing that we are always connected, always part of the story that continues to unfold long after we have passed into the night. You said, as we approach the final stretch of this journey through time, space, and existence, we find ourselves standing on the edge of something vast, something beyond our understanding, yet something undeniably intimate. The universe, with all its infinite wonders, is both unfathomably distant and deeply personal. It is a place of grand cosmic forces, where stars are born, planets are formed, and galaxies collide. But it is also a place of intimate connection, where every individual, no matter how small or fleeting their life may seem, plays a crucial part in the unfolding story of existence. Our lives, our actions, our thoughts, they ripple out into the universe, creating waves that echo across time, touching everything in their path. In this final section of our journey, we come to realize that time, though seemingly infinite, is also a precious gift. It is the very thread that ties us to the universe, connecting us to the stars, to the earth, to one another. Time is the heartbeat of existence, and as we reflect on the passage of time, we are filled with both awe and humility. Every moment, no matter how small or seemingly insignificant, is part of the grand, intricate design of the cosmos. Each breath we take, each step we make, is a note in the ongoing symphony of life. The wind, which has carried the voices of the past and will carry the whispers of the future, is a symbol of this eternal flow. It reminds us that time is not a rigid, unchanging force, but a living, breathing current, one that carries everything with it, from the dust of ancient civilizations to the dreams of future generations. The wind has seen the rise and fall of empires, the birth and death of stars, and it will continue long after we are gone, carrying the memories of everything that has ever existed. And in this moment, we are part of that flow. We are not separate from it, but deeply embedded in it, contributing to the ongoing story of the universe. This realization brings with it a sense of peace. For if time is an eternal current, then our lives, brief as they may be, are not insignificant. They are part of the flow, part of the cosmic dance. We are not just isolated beings moving through time on our own. We are connected to the entire web of existence, from the smallest particle to the furthest star. Our actions, our choices, our thoughts, they are all part of the ongoing story of the universe, and they matter. Even if we never fully understand the impact of our lives, we can take comfort in knowing that we are contributing to something far greater than ourselves. As we reflect on the passage of time, we are also reminded of the impermanence of all things. The stars that burn so brightly in the sky, the planets that orbit around them, the lives that come and go, everything is in a constant state of flux. Yet this impermanence is not something to fear. It is part of the beauty of existence. The fleeting nature of life is what makes each moment so precious. If time were infinite, if everything lasted forever, perhaps we would lose the ability to appreciate the present moment. It is because our lives are brief, because time is always moving forward, that we are able to experience the richness of existence, to savor the fleeting beauty of each passing moment. This understanding of impermanence leads us to a deeper appreciation for the here and now. In the face of the vastness of time and space, it is easy to feel small, insignificant, and lost. But when we embrace the fleeting nature of life, we begin to see how precious each moment truly is. We are not guaranteed more time, more moments, more opportunities. And in this recognition, we are invited to live fully, to embrace the present moment with all of its beauty, its wonder, and its potential. The time we have is limited, yes, but it is also ours to shape, to mold, and to experience. And it is in this very limitation that we find the freedom to live authentically, to follow our hearts, and to make our lives meaningful. In the grand sweep of time, our individual lives may seem like a mere blip, a fleeting moment in the eternal flow. But it is precisely because our lives are finite that they matter. Time is not something to be feared or lamented, but something to be embraced, something to be honored. The stars, the wind, the earth, they have been here long before us, and they will continue long after we are gone. But in this brief moment, we are part of the dance. We are part of the story. And so, as we lay our heads down to rest, as we let go of the day and surrender ourselves to the embrace of sleep, we are reminded that time is both a gift and a mystery. It is a force that shapes us, that guides us, that carries us forward. It is a thread that connects us to the past, to the future, and to everything in between. And though we may not fully understand the ways in which time shapes our lives, we can take comfort in knowing that we are part of its flow. We are not alone in this journey. We are connected to the universe, to the wind, to the stars, to all of existence. As we drift off into sleep, we are not leaving behind the world we know. We are simply entering into a different rhythm, a different moment in the ongoing cycle of time. The wind will continue to carry the voices of the past. The stars will continue to burn brightly in the sky, and the story of the universe will continue to unfold. And when we awake, we will once again be part of that story, part of the eternal dance, part of the cosmic flow that has been moving forward for billions of years and will continue for billions more. Time, in all its mystery and beauty, is not something that defines us, but something that we are a part of. And in that understanding, we find peace. We find connection. We find meaning. As the final step in our journey through the infinite expanse of time and space, we arrive at a place of stillness, a space where the boundaries of the self seem to dissolve, and we are left only with the quiet pulse of the universe. It is here, in this moment of surrender, that we can truly appreciate the full meaning of our place within the cosmos. We have journeyed through eons of time, witnessing the ebb and flow of life, death, and rebirth. We have explored the vastness of the universe, where stars are born in the fiery crucible of creation and die in the silent embrace of the void. Yet in all this enormity, in all this grandeur, there is a stillness, a peace, that underlies it all, one that is always present, waiting for us to quiet our minds and listen. In this final moment, we are invited to embrace the deep mystery of existence, to acknowledge that there is much we will never know, and that this uncertainty is not something to fear, but something to accept with humility and wonder. The universe is vast, but it is also deeply mysterious, and there is no need to rush toward answers. The answers may never come, and perhaps that is the point, to simply exist, to feel the pulse of time moving through us, and to appreciate the fleeting beauty of each moment as it passes by. In this awareness, we find peace. We are part of something much greater than ourselves, something that stretches across time, space, and eternity, and we do not need to fully understand it in order to appreciate its beauty. The wind, which has carried the voices of ancient creatures and will continue to carry the stories of generations yet unborn, reminds us of the ongoing nature of time. It whispers of life's impermanence, of the constant change that defines the universe. But it also carries with it the seeds of new life, new stories, new beginnings. The wind does not judge the past or worry about the future. It simply moves forward, embracing each moment as it comes. In the same way, we too are invited to embrace the present moment, to let go of our attachment to what has been and what will be, and to rest in the simple beauty of now. It is in this simplicity that we find the most profound truth, that we are part of something much greater than ourselves. The stars that burn brightly in the sky, the trees that stretch toward the heavens, the rivers that flow endlessly to the sea, they are all part of the same cosmic dance that we are part of. We are not separate from them. We are them, and they are us. The elements that make up the universe, the stardust, the wind, the water, the fire, are the very same elements that make up our bodies. We are stardust, born of the same cosmic forces that shape the universe, and we carry within us the energy of all that has ever existed. As we reflect on this, we are reminded that the universe is not a distant, cold, and indifferent place. It is a living, breathing entity, and we are its children. We are not isolated beings, but part of a grand, interconnected web that spans the entirety of existence. Every action we take, every choice we make, sends ripples through this web, shaping the future in ways we may never fully understand. And yet, in this uncertainty, there is beauty. We do not need to understand the full extent of our impact in order to know that our lives matter. We do not need to see the full picture to appreciate the part that we play in the grand unfolding of the universe. This realization brings us to a place of peace, a peace that comes from understanding that we are not alone. We are part of something much larger than ourselves, something that has been unfolding for billions of years and will continue long after we are gone. The wind, the stars, the earth, they are our companions in this journey. We are not separate from them, but deeply connected to them, and it is in this connection that we find meaning. And so, as we prepare to slip into the quiet embrace of sleep, we are invited to let go of all our worries, all our doubts, all our fears. We do not need to solve the mysteries of the universe or understand every intricacy of time's passage. We do not need to hold on to the past or worry about the future. All we need to do is rest in the present moment, knowing that we are part of the eternal flow of time, part of the cosmic dance that has been unfolding since the beginning of time. We are part of the wind, part of the stars, part of the very fabric of the universe. In this surrender to the present moment, we find peace. We are not alone in the universe. We are part of it, and it is part of us. Our lives matter, even if we cannot always see how. The universe is vast, but it is also intimately connected to us, to our lives, to our choices, to our breath. And as we drift off into sleep, we are carried forward by the eternal rhythm of existence, knowing that we are not just observers of the universe, but participants in its grand, ongoing story. The wind continues to carry the voices of the past, the stars continue to burn, and time continues to flow. And as we sleep, we too continue, carried forward by the pulse of the universe, part of the eternal dance that has been moving forward for billions of years and will continue for billions more. In this, we find comfort. In this, we find meaning. In this, we find peace.